I sigh and sit up in bed. Hieronymus sits up beside me, placing his hand on my knee. Whatever you saw obviously upset you, Tori, he says. We need to talk about it. I know, I reply. Please don't think I'm keeping secrets from you. I'm not. I'm not trying to. I just don't know how to physically say the words. I'm scared if I say them, it will make them real, and I don't know how to feel about it. I shouldn't care. I know I shouldn't care, but in a way that almost makes it harder. Just start at the beginning, Hieronymus says patiently. Why did you get up to look at that device? Okay, first of all, it's called a laptop, I explain. It's a way to use the internet. The internet is a way to basically find information about any topic that you want to learn more about. That includes people. Hieronymus's eyes go wide. And you looked into Miss Middleton's whereabouts? I pause for a moment before I shake my head. Oh, no, I didn't. I figured they would give her a different name. Don't they give people new names, especially if they made their family forget who they are? It would make sense, Hieronymus admits at length. But if you didn't look up information about her, who were you looking for? I look down, feeling like an errant child. The words pass through my lips in a mumble. My parents. Hieronymus has the decency to look surprised. And what did you find? I looked up my house first, I tell him. Apparently they changed my room into an office. I almost didn't even recognize it. I couldn't find out anything about my mom because she has a really common name, but I did find my father's obituary. Oh. Hieronymus stiffens as he stares at me like he's not sure what to say, like he's not sure what I want to hear. I'm not sure what I want to hear either. Tori, I'm sorry. What are you sorry for? I ask him. I'm not trying to call you out. I know that's a thing that people say when people die. I guess I just don't understand why. Hieronymus pauses as if he honestly seems to be thinking about this. I'm sorry you're upset, he decides at length. Am I upset? I ask him. I don't know how to feel about this. I really don't. He's not my father anymore, so I shouldn't care. He was also terrible to my mother. He cheated on her, and the only reason she stayed with him was because she thought it would be better for me to grow up in a two-parent household, especially since her job at the local coffee shop wouldn't have been enough to support the both of us. I know you have mentioned several times that he wasn't a good husband, Hieronymus notes. But was he a good father? I don't know, I say with a shrug. To be honest, I don't really know anything about him. I know he liked to watch golf on TV. I know he started watching football a lot more when I was in high school, and horses races. But he always liked to do his own thing. He sat with my mom and me at trivia night, but he would always act like the questions were beneath him and say they were obvious without trying to guess them. He cooked dinner for us on weekends and took us on vacations once a year, but he always made a big production out of it, saying that he was such a good guy to do it, that it sometimes made me feel uncomfortable, like I had to be thankful for him doing it instead of just being naturally grateful. Otherwise, he always worked late. He left for work before I woke up in the morning, and then he was home for dinner. He always insisted we eat dinner as a family, no matter how late he was, so sometimes Mom made me little snacks to tide me over if we had to eat really late. He always wanted me to get good grades and always asked how school was, but I felt like he never really cared. Like, even now, I feel like we were both just going through the motions of playing at what a functional father-daughter relationship should look like, but there was nothing really there. We might have been two actors playing a father-daughter dynamic on a TV show that had absolutely no chemistry between them. That's a very astute analysis, Hieronymus says after he's sure that I'm done talking. You know I don't have a great relationship with my father. I don't know any of his interests either. but I am not surprised that you did not have a strong father figure in your life, Tori. You are exceptionally mature for someone your age. I have noticed this in students who have had to raise themselves, so to speak. If you honestly feel nothing towards him, then you don't need to apologize for it. He sighs. You don't need to feel bad about cutting toxic people out of your life, Tori. Even people who claim to be your family. As you grow older, you will find that the family you make by choice is stronger than the family you share blood with. My connection to you is deeper than the one I share with my father. We have known each other for only a few years. I have known him for decades, and yet, when it comes right down to it, you have no expectations of me. You accept me as I am, and you genuinely want to learn my habits and preferences without trying to change them. I know I can trust you with anything because you genuinely support me and want the best for me. That is what family is supposed to do for one another. Kindness and courage, I offer, and Hieronymous nods. I guess you're right, because I feel that way about you too. You think I'm an idiot sometimes, but I know that you have my back no matter what happens. You question me sometimes, but you never judge me, and I know I can act like myself around you because you give me the freedom to do that. I used to continuously worry about trying to impress you, but I'm not really like that anymore. I'm glad, Hieronymous says as he plants a kiss on my temple. The important thing to remember, Tori, is you don't have to decide how you want to feel right now. You might not feel anything for a few days, and then, next week, you might feel angry. You might feel upset. You might feel bitter. Any feelings you might experience are valid, and I want you to know that you can come to me with all of them. I will, I tell him resolutely. I don't want to bother you with my feelings and make you worry about me, but at the same time, I know that you do care and you do want to know how I'm feeling. You're going to be back to Iris Academy, Hieronymous reminds me. Your friends are there. I know that I've asked you for discretion as far as our relationship is concerned, but if you need people to talk to and I'm not available, I hope you feel comfortable going to your friends for support. I know you haven't recently, but they do seem to care for you a great deal. I know they do, I reply, but I feel like I've been enough of a burden on them, especially when Damien wiped my memories. We seem to have moved past that now, but even with the drama me and Ellen caused last year, it just feels like I can't really open up to them because I'm worried about making our friendship all about my problems. Virginia says that she lives for my drama, but at the same time, I feel like friendship should be based more on common interest than trying to solve my many, many problems. I pause for a moment. Plus, they're also magical born. None of them have ever had to make the choice to give up their parents, so I'm not really sure they can really understand what I'm going through. None of them have died. None of them have almost died. None of them have had close family members pass away. None of them wound up married before they were 18, and none of them are even in committed relationships to be giving any sort of advice on that front. We're just really different. And I don't think I'll be able to make any new friends because I always have that little suspicion in the back of my mind that they might be looking to use me for my noble status instead of actually wanting to be my friend, like Lavinia or Jessie. Hieronymous just sighs as he shakes his head. I want to tell you that you're wrong, Tori, but you are, unfortunately, quite right. As you can see from my own life, I also have no other friends to speak of. I have no professional relationships to fall back on for advice, and the only person who I can turn to is my father, and I fear what he may want in return whenever I ask for his assistance. It is a difficult life to lead, Tori, which is why it's even more important that we are there for one another and support each other when we have no one else to turn to. I won't make the same mistakes as last year, I assure him. I am here to love you and support you, no matter what happens. No more silent treatments. No more making you guess if something is wrong. And if bad things happen, especially in regards to Potsdam, I will tell you. Immediately, if not sooner. Yes, well, Hieronymous smiles as he kisses my temple. The next few weeks will be a good test run. I will do as you suggested and try to get advice from my father to see if that makes this transition any easier, and you will keep yourself out of trouble and talk to me when something is wrong. If all goes well, after we visit with Beige, we will return to Ravane Cottage for Christmas and have a much less stressful holiday than last year. I pause for a moment as I think it over. Part of me wants to go back to Ravane, but there's so much of the world that I haven't gotten to see yet, I remind him. And that includes the other world. Would it be safe to... No, Tori, Hieronymous says firmly. You are still a student yet, and there are still many dangers that could befall you. Even with me looking after you, I would not take the risk that something might happen to you. You and I both are much safer at Ravane Cottage. After you graduate and we have had more time to review the dangers that the other world possesses, we can revisit this topic of conversation again. Does that sound like a fair compromise? Yes, sir, I reply as I snuggle back into his chest. Honestly, I really just want to spend my holiday with you anyway. Although, with more servants about, I don't think we can really have as much fun as we did last year, can we? I can dismiss them, if you'd like, Hieronymous offers, but I just shake my head. Maybe for a few days so they can spend the holidays with their families, I remind him, but I don't think Mariette has a family to return to, and I did tell your father he could come spend Christmas dinner with us. I think it will be really interesting to see if this Christmas dinner is any better than the one we had with him last year. We'll see, I suppose, Hieronymous says as he kisses my forehead, but we should get some sleep now. I have a lot of traveling to do in the morning, and you should be well rested before the start of classes. I nod, feeling a lump forming in my throat as I think about how Hieronymous and I should have been cuddled up together in the room we used to share at Iris Academy. We should have been spending my final year together, with Hieronymous training his replacement and me spending as much time preparing for what life after graduation would look like. But, instead, I'd lost months of magical learning and had hurt my relationship with Hieronymous as a result. Even though I felt like our bond was stronger than ever, the truth was that we were both hurting with the distance. Our relationship would survive it, I was sure of that much, but I couldn't help but think that our affectionate statements were just a distraction from the elephant in the room, that the only reason we were both as secretly unhappy as we were right now was because of the mistakes I made last year. It was my fault, but constantly reminding myself and Hieronymous of that wouldn't make our relationship any better. Instead, I had to do all that I could to keep my head down and make sure that I got through my final year at Iris Academy by drawing as little attention to myself as possible.